Thank you to IOV-RVF for inviting me here. I am here to share with all of you my journey, my success. Let me begin with a small sneak preview about myself. I was born and brought up in Delhi. My father an engineer, mother a homemaker. Education was a very important priority in my home. I was lucky, I had the best of the education, my 10th from Loreto Convent, plus 2 from DPS. And I was very keen on doing architecture. I was again very lucky to get admission into School of Planning and Architecture, Delhi. That was a dream come true. I was super excited. Now, soon after passing out in 1989, I got an opportunity to do up a small office for a friend. I took it up as a challenge, and it turned out to be pretty good. And he gave me another work. I worked from home, I did not have an office, I did not think of opening up my own office. While I was doing this project, I got an opportunity to do another assignment for an unknown client. Now I had to think, I needed a space, I had to call the client, I had to call the vendors over. So that launched my office. I rented out a small room, thinking it is for a short while. I'll do this project and wind up and pick up a job. Now while I was doing that project, I realized that I could deliver and the projects kept going, moving ahead. I was working in that small room, I had no furniture, I used to sit on the floor and draft. My company was a C2C company, chaprasi to chairman all rolled into one. I would manage everything on my own. My parents offered to help me financially, but I said no. If I'll do it on my own, else I will not do it. And that independent streak, which every woman has and should have, is still with me today. Because I would do things on my own, at my own terms. Now in those times, in 1990 I'm talking about, there were very, very few women entrepreneurs. Very few women architects, and entrepreneurs were not heard of, that you have your own office. I had meetings, I had site visits where I was the only woman, there were some odd 20-25 men, and I had to face them, and I did not feel there was any difference. You know, when people say women should get reservations, I feel no, let them have equal opportunities. Why is there a difference? We are equal, we have the same thing. So I could interact with all of them at an equal footing, and that is what brought me up. Now, architecture was predominantly a male-dominated field. The contractors were very uncomfortable dealing with a woman architect. I'll share an incident. There was a contractor who came to my office, and while talking to me, he was looking beyond me. I asked him, what is it? He said, नहीं वो आपके male boss पीछे बैठे होंगे room में. You know, उनसे बात करनी है. So I said, no, I am the boss. You have to talk to me. Now this was a very humble beginning. I engaged my first staff. That was a very proud moment for me. Instead of getting a salary, I paid a salary. Slowly the office grew from one room, rental room, to my own office space of 1500 square feet. And now I have an office in Mumbai also. So a woman also, by being consistent in her work, without any outside help, can grow and build on her own. There were many obstacles. There were periods when I did not have any work. Staff was a liability, but I stuck on. I never gave up. With a lot of hard work, dedication, honesty, and especially an attitude to never say no to any kind of work. Whatever work came, I picked it up. Right from designing big institutional buildings to I was also designing bags for the showroom, because I was taking up the complete work of showrooms. So I would do a mix of everything. There was no hierarchy that I will not do this work or not do that work. Now, slowly my office was growing. going into architecture, interiors, exhibitions, and then I added these valuation services very recently. I was very interested in, understanding how the cities were growing, understanding the new areas, because at that time in 1990, Gurgaon was getting developed, Noida was getting developed. How these places, if it had an X amount of value today, how these were changing because of the changing infrastructure, because of changing land use, because of the government policies, how the prices were changing. Also, I had a conservation study background in my college. In that, what we had done was we had given alternative use to our heritage buildings. Because most of the heritage buildings, people were not able to maintain them. So for example, some old palaces were made into homestays. Certain old buildings were converted into post offices. So there was a revenue earning, there was an economic value to the building, and that's how they could maintain the places and retain their places to live in. So I also started, it was a very interesting topic to me, so I started looking at alternative use, what now in valuation we say highest and best use. So my friends and my family started asking for my advice. Now this was only a hobby for me. Then this hobby got converted into a formal valuation course. I did this valuation course, I cleared my RV, and I cleared my IBBI exam and became an RV. Now, I got a chance to work with the Supreme Court formed committee under a retired judge. What we did was, there was a builder who had problems, I will not take the name here, and we valued their assets, complete assets. After valuation, we e-auctioned the assets. The money that we generated from the e-auction, we used that money to complete the unfinished flats and hand them over to the home buyers. Now this was a great opportunity because from valuation I was doing the end handing over of the flats. I was involved in the entire process. So my architecture, my valuation, my everything came into use there. And it was a very tough work. I was working like almost 12 to 14 hours, but I was at it. Soon after that, there was a very interesting arbitration case came to me. The properties were for about 700 crores, and that was a big industrial family which had to be divided amongst the heirs. And there was a dispute who will get what, because they were not valuing each person whatever property they had. They would say that's very low value, the other person has a higher value. So there was a big argument. Now this, I was very happy that by my valuation and by doing that valuation course, I was able to give correct values, and this entire arbitration case got solved very amicably. And all the heirs were happy with that whole setup. It was all over North India spread out, and I had to travel and everything with it. Now to conclude, I feel that it was my honesty and integrity which paid and resulted in many repeat orders from the same client. I had obstacles, I did make mistakes, but I determined not to give up. I resolved them, taking baby steps one after the other. Now I have moved ahead. I am giving back to the society by working and making our cities more and more sustainable. I visited Barcelona to study their model of smart cities and how, even smart cities have an impact on the valuation of the buildings. When the government floats a certain city to be a smart city and builds up the infrastructure there, suddenly the prices of the properties goes up. So if we know beforehand that certain schemes of the government are for that area, we can value the property accordingly. This is the present value, this is the future value of the property. And women needs no reservation. This is what I would like to say. We just let us be